Hey, folks, welcome to the BeyondTheBaselines.com podcast. I'm Ed Shanaffy, your host. And today on the line, I've got Eric Dietz and Zac Blair, both from the tree farm down there in South Carolina. Welcome, gents, and thank you so much for being here.
Go ahead. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, you guys, great to have you both. What a destination and a project the tree farm is. And before we start talking about the tree farm, I wanted to get both your backgrounds. And Eric, I've known you through the industry. You're down here in Florida, out there at Lake Wales, and would love to hear both your stories. But Eric, we'll start with you. How'd you get to where you are right now? I know you started on the golf side, but take us through that.
Yeah, sure. So I've been playing golf now, let's see, it'll be 60 years in February. So started playing outside Washington, D.C. and really got active in the game and played a bunch of junior golf. We had a wonderful junior golf program in D.C. and worked at my club when you could. I started at the age of 10, working in the bag room and on the range and doing all the usual kind of things, and kind of stuck with it and kept playing and went to school and kept playing and eventually found my way. I went to work for a guy that was an assistant golf professional at the club that I grew up in, that I worked for. He got his first head pros job and he was looking for an assistant, and he hired me and put him in the apprentice program. And, it kind of went from there. I went through the program, went through the old school PGA program and became a Class A PGA member. Was at Baltimore Country Club, 5 farms in Baltimore, and then became the head head professional at Hunt Valley in Baltimore. And then ran all the golf in Hershey, Pennsylvania back in the day when we had, I guess there were 4 different facilities. Shoot, we had the country club was 36 holes, the top 100. Parkview was top 100, and public golf course, and then 9 holes at the hotel and 9 holes at Spring Creek. Ladies tour event, we had the Lady Keystone, and then eventually a gateway event and buy.com, and kind of evolved from there. Lancaster Country Club as the director of golf. Then moved to a club in California, and they talked me into crossing over to the dark side about 23 years ago and started running clubs, and have been very fortunate. Was a couple times in Minnesota, Rochester Golf and Country Club, and Interlaken and outside Edina, and then back home, Lakewood Country Club in Washington, D.C., and Mountain Lake and Lake Wales, Florida. And then Zac and team caught my attention at the tree farm, and I ended up, at this wonderful, very cool spot with an office in the middle of the woods and in one of the hottest golf areas in the United States and maybe the world. So who would have thought?
Yeah, that's a heck of a story. I mean, you traversed the country basically through golf and club management. And I want to get Zac on, and Zac, your story's a little different. PGA Tour golfer. Take us through your background there, so the listeners know where you're coming from.
Yeah, so I grew up in Utah, and my dad, was in the golf industry, kind of on all sides of it, development and PGA professional. So I just grew up around the game my entire life. When I was younger, he built and owned and operated these places called mulligans that were driving ranges with golf courses, with little golf courses. I grew up at the Jeremy Ranch, a course that he kind of helped develop, before I was born, and just kind of traveled around with him, quote unquote caddying for him when I was a little kid. So I just grew up around the game my entire life, and just kind of wanted to be like my dad. So I was always kind of sketching golf holes down and dreaming of building the golf course one day like him. And it's pretty cool to kind of jump into that space and be a part of
it. So basically, I mean, you're playing golf right now. You're at a tournament at the moment, correct? Out in Hawaii.
Yep. Our season kind of kicks off this week at the Sony Open. So out here in Hawaii hanging out.
Yeah, I just watched the Century, which was a great tournament, first one of the year for the PGA Tour. So you guys both, which is really interesting, I didn't know this, you both grew up in the club world. Both of you, both your parents were involved in the club industry. And I know for Zac, it's been a dream of yours to open a club and be part of the design. How did you find South Carolina? I mean, I know you're from Utah, you're thinking about doing Utah, but how did the South Carolina property catch your eye?
Yeah, so like you said, tried to do something in Utah for a while, kind of just kept stalling out and wasn't really working. Um, Started looking kind of all over and, had my eyes kind of pegged on the Southeast just based on, where it is and, people and population and weather and, all those sort of factors. And a friend of mine, Andy Johnson, I think was kind of hosting an event down in Aiken and, just kind of mentioned to me, hey, there's a lot of cool stuff going on down here. There's a lot of cool golf courses. They love golf. You should look down here and see if there's any places that, would fit the bill. And so sure enough, just kind of started scouring the internet and, looking for places. And that's actually how I found the property was just on the internet, which is pretty wild. But had my eyes on the property for a couple of years. It was just kind of sitting there, obviously, and COVID happened, and thought, hey, we're not doing anything right now. Might as well go check this out.
That's fantastic. It's funny. I did a little research. I read the Golf Digest article on the tree farm, and Eric, this is for you. You come from a club at Mountain Lakes out there in the middle of Florida, which has steeped in tradition, an elite club in Florida. And the Golf Digest headline is, the tree farm hell bent on not being conventional. I think the word they use is hell bent. Eric, what's it like to be at the beginning of a club? Mountain Lake's been there for 100 some odd years. Now you're at the beginning of creating a destination club. How's that different? I mean, take us through the differences between an elite traditional club and something that's hell bent on being outside the conventional idea.
Yeah, sure. So for years, I went into places and with the one goal of just honestly, just trying to make things better than they were, and obviously to leave the place better than when I got there. And when this popped up, I got a phone call from someone that mentioned the tree farm, and I'd followed Zac, and I knew the property a little bit and knew what was going on. Was familiar with Palmetto, which is a great golf club here in Aiken, and so I was talking to this individual about this project, and they were looking to find someone, and I kind of offhandedly said to him, I said, I know you called me looking for a candidate and you weren't thinking about me. I said, but what would you think? And we talked a little bit about it, and he had some conversations with Zac and the team, and I've met a few times with different partners, and the thing that really stirred me about the tree farm, and it's a long-winded way of probably why I ended up there. It was a 45-minute call with Zac, and Zac would probably never remember this call, but it was very memorable for me because I asked him one question that was very, very important to me, and that was, talk to me about the vision of the tree farm and what your vision is for it. And, he's great. He walked me through it and, really gave me from his lens what his belief the tree farm was all about. And, I asked him, I said, so how do you protect that? How do you ensure that, the bulk of that stays in place? And, he walked me through, things will change and they will evolve, but they're not going to evolve dramatically, and it's not something that's going to change where, one year it's going to be this and then the next year it's going to be that. And we all know that at private clubs, no matter how good they are, and I shared this with Zac, the one common thread, the one challenge is vision, and really having that, steadfast belief in what you're doing and that the direction that you're heading is correct. Most private clubs, unfortunately, they'll change as the boards change. And, you get different committees and different boards. So it was this great, he gave me this great answer, and it really electrified me to the point that I was like, this would be really something I'd be interested in. So, it evolved. We had some further conversations, came out, was amazed, when I was out at the property, and Zac and I had another one or two follow-up conversations, and we put the deal together. As he said, I think I'm going to green light this. And so what was cool, what's cool, the difference between why is being at a startup of such interest. You get to touch everything, you get to be a part of everything. Doesn't mean you're going to answer all the questions, or that you're directly responsible for every decision. We got a great group that is the tree farm, and certainly it's following Zac's lead. But you get to touch everything, and you get to try your best to ultimately put forth what is the best tree farm. And that's really Zac's vision. And then, the things that the great professional staff that, that we put together will be able to deliver. So it's a really, I don't know, knowing what I know now, I'm so looking forward to September and opening this place. It's going to be awesome.
Can't wait. Zac, do you remember that phone call? I'm sure you do.
Yeah. I was in the mall parking lot in Provo, staring at the California Pizza Kitchen getting torn down. And no, for sure. I think, that was certainly a big, phone call just for the, going forward for the club, and, getting someone that's kind of been there and done that and seen a lot of things, and, someone that we knew could help the operation out, and, bring a lot of insight. And we're certainly lucky to have Eric, and it's been really cool kind of, seeing him work on executing my vision and trying to get everybody on board to do the same.
Hey, you speaking about your vision. I did a lot of reading, and you're there. What's amazing is your geographical location is just 25 miles away, really, from Augusta. I didn't know it was that close until I looked at the map of where you are. And Zac, you've always wanted, I guess, the vision is kind of, maybe you want to be a little bit by like the Masters, like Augusta, but at the same time, you kind of have an informal feel. You're trying to create this destination. The course, you said, I read, is not that hard. You want every level to play it. What is your vision? Is it to bring people from around the country, around the world to the tree farm? How are you going to do that? And how did you design it? I know you went through some designers there. I think Kyle Golby was the last of the designers to finish off the course, but take us through your vision and how you designed the course based on that vision.
Yeah, I mean, the vision was always just, to build a place for people that love golf, to be able to come and hang out and feel like they can be themselves, and really tried to not kind of deviate at all from that. And that's really been kind of the guiding, light, during the whole development of the whole project. It's really like as simple as it gets. But as far as the golf course goes, we had originally King Collins was helping me out in Utah, and so when we got this property, it was obviously kind of a weird situation, whether this was kind of the same project or a new project. And eventually we ended up kind of telling them we were going to go a different direction, and then we were stuck with no architect or no one helping really, so we had to find somebody. And it just kind of happened serendipitously that I was getting picked up from the airport by Kai Golby to go down to play golf for a few days. And he's obviously been involved in a ton of great projects around the world, has worked for Tom Doak and Gil Hanse for the last, 20 plus years or whatever. And I think kind of immediately I just started trying to pick his brain and asking him questions and, who should I talk to? Do you have any advice? And he was great, throughout the whole project. And I think after 3 or 4 days of spending time together, he was kind of like, hey, I'd love to see the property, and would love to help out in any way. So, he was kind of the guy I leaned on, and he and a couple others led to Tom Doak getting involved and coming in to help out with the routing, which was obviously another huge kind of piece for the whole project to get the traction that we needed and get the right eyes on it, and to get us off to the best start we could. And then it was really Kai and a couple of other shapers that built the whole place. So I helped out a little bit, and it obviously started with the routing with Tom and Kai, and but yeah, it's a cool place. The property's cool, and the goal was always to just let the land be the star because it was so special. Didn't want to try and build a lot of stuff or do a lot of flashy things. Wanted to make it pretty, low key and elegant, if you will.
Was it actually an old tree farm? Is that, I mean, it was an old tree farm? Did you have to cut? I mean, was it forest or was it open? How, when you first got there, what did it appear like?
Yeah, basically, if you could picture the densest forest you could possibly imagine.
That's what I'm picturing. I'm trying to think when I drive through South Carolina and see those tree farms. I mean, it's dense, right?
Yeah, it was they harvested timber on, parts of the property, throughout its history, I would say. For the last, I don't know, 50 or so years, I think it was just kind of being hunted on. There wasn't like a big timber operation going on, recently. So it was pretty overgrown. It was a pretty wild transformation, kind of seeing, the logging company or the timber company kind of come in and take the trees out and do that whole operation. It was pretty crazy. So.
And now, I mean, I've seen pictures. It's pretty open. I mean, it's not tight. I mean, as you said, it's any player could probably play, and it's open for all levels.
Yeah, that was always, pretty important to just, allow people to come have fun. I think it's kind of a course that, to me, gets better, the more you play it, and especially as a higher level, like lower handicap golfer, you kind of pick up on new things, and some of the strategy isn't super apparent, the first time you play it, because there's not a ton of fairway bunkers, and they're pretty generous fairways. But like I said, the more you get out there and the more you see it, those little things kind of make their way out in terms of the strategy, and it holds up, from a kind of bad golfer all the way to elite, like professionals, I would say. So it's been cool.
Well, I'm the former of that. I'm the bad golfer. I'm a 17 handicap. Used to be an 11, but I don't get enough time to play anymore. But it looks fantastic. Eric, going back to you, this is a monumental task in terms of funding a project like this, gaining membership. How's that going? I mean, I think I read that you have 70 founding members, and you've already raised something like $35 million. But how are you thinking going forward? I think you mentioned it's going to open in September. Operational costs, and a lot of times we set up the, we have the capital expenses. We've got that in the front of our heads on our radar, but then we forget them when we open. We've got that staff that we've got to make payroll each week. How's that all going?
Yeah, it's a great question, right? So you're right, 70 founding members. Total membership right now, we're sitting about just under 320, and which is a great number. It's
fantastic.
Really, it's fabulous. And one of the most unique, and I'll use that word a lot to describe the tree farm, one of the most unique features of the tree farm is every one of those 320 people have one thing in common. Each one of them were touched in one way, shape, or form by Zac Blair. So that means that Zac has interviewed everyone, he's talked to everyone, he's made sure that they all meet that vision, that common denominator, which is the tree farm is really a place for fun, and you want to have people that are going to enjoy coming and enjoy that type of property. I mean, gosh, when you go into our golf shop, we've got Carhartt overalls in there, and that's homage to Zac, and some great pictures of him clearing the property. And B. Dratty did a real cool logo of Zac called the Lumber Zac that recognized him, the original Dratty ambassador, and so forth. So 320, just about all of them touched by Zac, who's really acted as the membership chair and the membership committee. So that side of it, we plan to cap at 350, and then
Okay, so you're almost full.
We want to gauge things based on that first year of business and really get a sense. Where the tree farm is decidedly different. It's a different model. We're a model that's based on usage. So we want our members to use the facility. They'll fly in, they'll drive in. It's a lunch to lunch vision. Folks, and though people will use the tree farm in different ways, there'll be some day golf, but a lot of folks will come in. They'll have lunch, play golf in the afternoon, have dinner, stay the evening, have breakfast, play golf, have lunch, and leave. Right, and that'll really be the most common way that it'll be used. But as I said, we'll see day golfers, and we'll see people staying longer than that, I'm sure. But it's based on usage. So we've got to determine how that model stands up, and does it generate the top line revenue that we anticipate, that we're assuming that it will, in order to support that key staff. So we're going at it. We could go out and maybe bring 500 members in, and then we would, we'd be sure that we would get the usage that would well drive
that you need.
revenue. But we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that the experience is such that it lines up with the vision that Zac has so carefully created.
Where are most of the members coming from? Are they from the area? Are they national? Are they? Yeah, it's almost like you're creating a destination.
It is. It's definitely a destination place. We've got some nice pockets of folks from Charlotte, Augusta, a couple from Aiken, Charleston, Greenville. Different parts of South Carolina, Northeast. Certainly there's a contingent of real hard golfers from Utah that will play when it's 45 degrees and raining sideways, because the weather's a little bit better in Aiken than it is in Utah during the winter. So New York, Chicago, different metro areas. But again, the draw has been, what's the common denominator? People that have a high golf IQ, they love architecture, they love the idea of having fun, and they certainly buy into the vision that Zac often speaks about.
Yeah, I mean, I know Columbia pretty well. It's a beautiful area, and I'm sure you get a good pull from there because you're not that far. But to create a destination golf like this needs somebody like Zac at the front end. This is an open question for both of you, and I think both of you could answer it. Obviously, you're going to have some residences there. I think you're building cottages. From my experience here at Quail Valley, where I was for many years, part of the most profitable part of operation was the residences, was the rooms. How does that fit in, Zac, to your vision? Like people coming down to stay, or are they going to stay for couple days? Do they make a week-long visit of it? How do you picture that working? And then over to you, Eric, after, how does that help your operational costs?
Yeah, I mean, the operation, I mean, the vision, really kind of is always hinged on the lodging aspect of it. Um, it's almost like it's a hotel with a golf course as kind of the amenity. It's
Mm-hmm.
obviously the private setting and it's a club and everything like that. But, I've always felt that the lodging and the rooms was really kind of the revenue driver behind the whole thing. And, you got to get heads in beds and, you need the people to get there and utilize it. But yeah, it's definitely set up for kind of the whole stay and play and, eat on property, stay on property, golf on property, and, do everything while you're there.
Right. And Eric, how's that going to work operationally? You have the staff for that there in South Carolina, ready to roll out in September?
Yeah, well, we're going through a couple of key hires that we're making right now. We're, actively searching CFO, chef, assistant general manager. So we'll get those folks on board. Like to have them on the ground so they can really spend some time. We're doing some preview play right now, 6 days a week. So we'll do up to 48 players in the morning, 48 players in the afternoon. It's important to mention too that our caddy program is a big part of the tree farm. So, right now it's all walking. Certainly if someone needs a golf car, we've got a couple of them around if they've got, a definite reason for that. But, we're getting a good feel for, what folks are looking for and kind of how they're, how the membership is wired, so to speak. This experience will be very different. Again, there's this wonderful picture of just a blazing fire with some Adirondack chairs that are there's a ring around it with a sunset or sunrise in the background, and that's really very typical of the tree farm. We use smoke to greet people, and there's always a fire going on, and we imagine that experience will carry forth once we get the cabins open. All of the buildings that we're building are all they'll look like they've been in the woods for years and years. Wood siding, very natural looking, metal roof. The clubhouse is kind of cut into a hillside, and it adjoins the 18th green, which is a drivable par 4. Hole tee number 1, which is a par 3 hole, the warm-up practice area. You get to see all of that with a beautiful practice green that's right on the edge of edge of one of the terraces. So there's going to be a lot of community that takes place at the tree farm. And, one of the greatest things for me that I've observed over the last year is just watching people, share share contact information, get to know new people, expand their horizons. You got groups now that are playing golf all over the world, which is one of the great byproducts of what it is that we do. And so lodging is critically important to that. The rooms will, they'll have a Ritz-Carlton style bed and wonderful linens and sheets and so forth, but they're not designed for you to spend time in the room. They're designed to spend time with people and with nature.
Beautiful. Hey, Zac, I didn't realize the caddy program was this big, and I know you're a big advocate of speed of play. How's the speed of play going to work when everyone's walking, obviously, which is great. I mean, a good walk spoiled is what the sport's really, the motto of the sport. So how do you think speed of play will be with a caddy program?
Yeah, it's usually pretty good. Obviously when you got caddies kind of double bagging it's maybe slows it down a teeny bit if you're kind of either waiting on the player or waiting on the caddy.
Mhm.
But yeah, we've always kind of pace of play has been a big deal, and it's kind of a work in progress, and something we're keeping our eyes on. And as with everything else, it's kind of I've always had my eyes on fall 2024 and getting everything kind of dialed in by then. And a lot of the things are kind of still a lot of moving parts with it, and still kind of evolving and taking shape, and getting our footing really settled in. And I think it'll be fine.
Right. Yeah, no. And speaking about the practice green, I mean, I love that it's a par 3 to start with. That lets me warm up. But you've got the green right there, and I understand you're going to have a state-of-the-art practice facility. That's becoming a major part of any new golf destination, isn't it? I mean, you're going to have simulators and all that. Take us through the state-of-the-art practice area.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not sure where that came from. I don't know if it was in the article, or it might have been
It
in
was,
one of the old Golf Digest articles.
yeah, it was in
It
the
was
old Golf
something.
Digest.
Yeah, it was. That was definitely something that I wanted to do in Utah. Kind of hasn't really carried over as much to the tree farm. Down the road, we've always kind of said if we wanted to do something like that, we could. But as kind of a destination club where people are just coming in for a couple of days, it's not really anyone's local clubs. There's not a ton of people coming out to just grind and practice and take lessons. So it was definitely kind of less of a priority here than it was maybe in some of the earlier visions. The range is really nice, but it's really a warm up range. It's used to
Mm-hmm.
hit a handful of balls before you go out. And I think throughout the whole process, we kind of learned that most of these people just want to warm up and see a few balls fly and get out on the course, and they just kind of want to be out there all day. So definitely has kind of shifted a bit. But if it's something down the road where a bunch of the tour guys want to build a really cool place, we have room for something like that. Just not something we're doing right now.
So you got a par 3 to start with, a drivable par 4 on the 18th. What's the distance? What's the length of the course? From the different tees, and what's the par? Par 70, par 72? What is it?
Par 71, plays like 6,900 from the back. And there's sets obviously that are probably 65 and 6,000, and shorter and longer, but those are kind of the three main sets of tees that are out day in and day out. And yeah, it's cool. It's obviously a very unique setting. The clubhouse itself is, super site specific, and something that my friend who's the architect, Alex War, is extremely excited about, just with how site specific it is. You'd never see it kind of anywhere else in the world except for at the tree farm, which is really cool. And like Eric mentioned, it kind of overlooks the 18th green. It's kind of attached right to where the practice putting green is, and the first tee is right there. So you can sit out on the back porch and watch people drive 18, and watch people tee off and finish the first hole, which is I don't know that there's that many places in the whole world where you can say that.
Nope, not many. Eric, final question for you. What's your biggest challenge, I'd say, to opening in September? What do you see is going to be the biggest challenge and possibly the greatest reward when you open those doors for to the full membership?
Yeah, I think it's always going to revolve around people. And we all know the industry today. And I do think that'll be the biggest reward though, too, because this will be, one of the things about this type of operation that is so very, very different, and that'll spill over into the hiring process too, is you've got to want to be part of something like this. You've got to be willing. And Zac asked me this question too as a follow-up call to the site visit. He called me, he goes, do you have any problem getting dirty? And I was like, no, I don't. And he pretty much said good, because that's the way it's going to be. And he was spot on. Most days it's if you came to the tree farm, I'm in 5 pockets and boots and hoodies and things like that, which is a great departure from jacket and tie and so forth. And I think, staff will, one, we've got to find the staff, and then two, we'll get them to embrace that philosophy. And then really it's senior management. Our responsibility really is going to be more choreography and being great conductors. And I think that gives us a very unique opportunity because one, we'll get to know our members intimately, which means we'll know their likes and dislikes pretty quickly. But it'll also let each person that comes in to be a unique part of the success of the tree farm. So it's going to be revolving around finding people, and then ultimately the joy will be watching those people deliver an amazing experience.
And Zach, over to you for the final question. Obviously, location, not sure, maybe you do have dreams of bringing a major PGA event there or a USGA event. But what are your goals as you look to open up in September? What do you think you're going to be in 5 years at the tree farm?
Yeah, honestly, kind of never built it with aspirations of having, some big professional golf tournament. The course certainly wasn't designed. It was almost designed like the opposite, kind of, just running away from the pretty typical modern build right now, where it's just build it as long as you can and build it as hard as you can. We did everything with kind of fun in mind instead of hard. So I don't see, some big professional event kind of on the horizon. I don't think that's something that we're super interested in. Now, if it's, a junior event or a mid-am event or an amateur event or something like that, college event, maybe, but really everything's just kind of going towards the vision, which is, just having a place for people to come have fun. So that's what I want to be in 5 years. I want to be a place where, people can't wait to come back and, we're so excited about, what they're experiencing there. And whether they're a member or a guest, it's always kind of the same feeling when you leave that, you're just looking forward to coming back as soon as possible.
That's great. You guys both got dirty doing this project, and I wish you the best in September when you open it. And know that you already have 320 members out of a maximum of 350, 370. It's just a monumental task to do that, and I congratulate you both. Thank you so much for being on the podcast, and we look forward to watching the opening and seeing how it progresses down there in South Carolina.
Thanks, Ed. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks, Ed. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Great to talk.
Have fun, Zach.
Bye, guys.
Right,
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Later.
Take care.